looking for adventure. Good morning, 630 KHW, Tuesday, 46 the high today. The dirty 630, 48 on Wednesday, 56 Thursday, 58 Friday. There is so much going on. That's the voice of Jason Saltzman. We have exposed the Progress Now's contest prize. It's been a week of good work, and Greg Hollenbach's done great work, and Jason Saltzman and Michael Huttner, now they've all vanished and Jason, at this point, I just feel sorry for Jason. He had a pretty good career going, and I think it's headed in the other direction. Huttner's now vanished. Progress Now is pretending they don't know these people. It is just really incredible. But I think the biggest news of the morning, first of all, please say good morning. Welcome back to 630 KHW from the American Thinker. He's one of my true favorites. Jack Cashill joins us, and we have an interview that we're going to play you guys from KQRS, the morning show, about 4 days ago. First of all, Jack, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Peter. How's things warming up in Denver? Glad to see that.
Yeah, there's snow in the mountains, and it's warming up down here. Man can't ask for anything more.
No, right. It should be coming our way.
Set this interview up, and then we'll play it for the audience, and it's available on our website as well. But set this up.
Well, this is an interview with a guy who's a celebrity journalist and a friend of Neil Abercrombie. And as you'll hear, and I'll let the audience judge for themselves, just how convincing he is. I think he's telling the truth. He's a good friend of Abercrombie. He's known him. He's from Honolulu. He goes way back. He's now something of a celebrity journalist in the Los Angeles area. This show is captured on the Los Angeles. This clip is captured on the Los Angeles radio station from, I believe, January 19th. And what he's talking about is, as the audience will hear, is his relationship with Neil Abercrombie. And he speaks accurately about this, and also about how Abercrombie has been boasting about his relationship with Obama Sr. and even Obama Jr. ever since Obama hit the scene, and how I think this friend thinks that Abercrombie has blundered in his search for the birth certificate.
And also, what's interesting to me is, and we've talked about it and other people have spoken about it, the White House is giving them no support.
No, of course not. He's got left out there dangling, and as the guy says here, he says that Neil's got egg on his face,
He's got more than egg.
Right.
He's got lies on his face.
Yeah.
All right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put you on hold for the audience. And this is KQRS, the morning show. Jack said, I read it was the 20th of January, except the 19th. Mike Evans, the Hollywood Reporter, and Chic, if you would, this gets good.
Next item, no show business, but I have a personal interest, so I thought I'd share it with you. Former U.S. Congressman from Hawaii, Neil Abercrombie, has been a friend of mine for decades. In fact, when I first met Neil, he was driving a cab in Honolulu. Well, Neil and I spent a lot of time together in Washington, D.C. during Obama's inauguration. Neil told me then that he was going to run for governor of Hawaii. He had enough of being a U.S. congressman. He also told me that his stories, and he told me many times after Barack became famous, that when he was in college, going to the University of Hawaii, he was a friend of Barack Obama's dad. And he remembers Barack Obama as a little kid. He used to call him Barry. In fact, I did a TV interview with Abercrombie at C-SPAN the day after the inauguration, and we had to stop twice because he referred to the president as Barry, which after he did, he said, I got to call him the Mr. President. Well, Neil promised me that when he became governor, he was going to cut through all the red tape. He was going to get Obama's birth certificate once and for all and end the stupid controversy that he was not born in the United States. Yesterday, talking to Neil's office, Neil says that he searched everywhere using his power as governor at the Kapiolani Women's and Children's Hospital and Queens Hospital, the only places kids were born in Hawaii back when Barack was born. There is no Barack Obama birth certificate in Hawaii.
Really?
Absolutely no proof at all that he was born in Hawaii.
Wow.
Now, he went out, he loves Obama. I mean, he purposely did this to get rid of that question. Now, got some egg in the face. I mean, now he admits publicly that there is no birth certificate.
Honestly.
Well, and Mike, the addendum to that is there's this story of there was a birth announcement, but it's been explained his grandparents could have called the newspaper and said, "Hey, our grandchild was born, and he didn't have to be born in Hawaii for that." So it's raising the issue again.
Absolutely.
After it seemed to be put to bed.
And I asked him, I go, "Well, when do you remember Barack? When your first memory?" And he goes, I remember him playing like in a T-ball league. And I go, like, well, how old? He goes, like, he was like 5 or 6, something like that. I go, what about before that? He goes, I don't really remember him much before that, which I thought was very odd.
Really?
Anyway.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
According to our federal law, and I don't know if it's constitutional law, but I assume it would be, why is he allowed to be the president of the United States then if he can't prove he's a U.S. citizen?
Well, that's
born here.
the big question.
I don't. That's weird.
And now Abercrombie is the first to say that he, although he is a Abercrombie as a Obama lover,
right?
That he's concerned that this is really going to be an issue during the re-election.
So it has taken off as a big story again. Huh?
Yes.
Well, and what's interesting about it is this guy attacked people who questioned that he was born in Hawaii just a few weeks ago.
Neil did.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, Neil and I are buddies, and during this whole inauguration, when I was in Washington for those 10 days, spent a lot of time with Neil, and anytime anybody come up and bring this up, you're right, Neil was almost militant about it. I remember him as a kid. He was from Hawaii, born and raised in Hawaii. So, needless to say, I think he was probably shocked more than anybody with the whole thing.
I mean, don't you have to produce papers that say, in fact, you were born in the United States?
So, wouldn't you?
You'd have to.
Well, there's been a certificate of live birth, but that's being questioned too because you don't have it. It's not the official birth certificate.
There has to be one at the hospital signed by the doctor verifying a birth, but there isn't that.
Weird.
It's like baptism papers. It's not worth the paper it's written on, really.
Well, Mike, how hard would it be to go back and find out what doctors were on then?
Well, apparently he can't find any of that, and it said that they were there. Who is
9 after the hour?
Up the fact that Obama had created a fictional memoir.
That was his. That's his.
Father.
That's his entire basis. I mean, his speech in Denver for the acceptance, where the farm girl from Kansas.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that whole.
And the boy for the goat herder from Kenya.
Yeah.
And his Denver acceptance speech, he started with that in the first sentence.
Right.
Because he rode that whole story to the White House.
It's been dubbed
improbable love, this multicultural romance. They saw the promise of America. And then when I was 2 years old, he continues to say this.
Oh, yeah.
When I was 2 years old, my father, was torn between staying with the family or taking a scholarship at Harvard. And
my dad took him to the airport. Granddad took him to the airport. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
It's a lie.
And it's all a lie.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no family.
There was no happy family.
No. In fact, there's, and I get into this in my book, Deconstructing Obama, which will be out in a couple of weeks. I go into the scenarios of why they may have been covering this up. And these include the date. He may not have been born in August. He may not have been born in Hawaii. If he's not born in Hawaii, it's most likely he was born in the state of Washington, where Anne, his mom,
takes
is
off
enrolling
to
in school 15 days after his alleged birthday. And Barack Obama Sr. may not be his father.
I know. I agree. We have a series of pictures up with with another man who has been dubbed as possibly the the spirit behind all of this. You look at this stuff and you think, why after the Denver Post is as bad, but if after the Tribune and both Times on both coasts do this enormous torpedo, not one of them will talk about now what's being said and what the truth is and what Abercrombie can't do. Why? I'm stumped by that. These are people that allegedly seek the truth, Jack.
Well, what's even more mystifying, Peter, is that conservative media,
they're
like the Washington, New York-based conservative media, are equally as obtuse. They don't want to know it either.
Well, like I said, it's like, I like that kid Cartman in South Park. He said, I really hate the fill-in-the-blank Republicans, but I really hate the fill-in-the-blank Democrats. I watched that Dave Gregory thing, and I knew Gregory when we went through the Ramsey debacle here, and I used to go do television with him. And I said yesterday, the guy was always a fruit fly, but you see him just do that beatdown, and that stupid idiot from Virginia sitting there taking it. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm going.
And John Boehner was no better a week earlier. And
absolutely.
Part of the reason is that they see what they're not getting, and in fact, I was going to write an article on this week because I was supposed to be in Washington today and tomorrow meeting with the conservative media. They don't want to talk to me, and they're not getting the support they need from the surrounding media. I'm talking about Weekly Standard, National Review, Washington
But who
Times,
cares? Why do you care? I mean, these people, their time has come. Jack, I'm going to do a traffic report. Hang on a second. Jack Cashill, believe me, this is just going to get better. 6:30 KHW, 14 after the hour traffic. All right, it's 20 after 6:20. Good morning. It's Tuesday. I'm Peter Boyles. Jack Cashill with WorldNet with us. This interview on KQRS, the morning show, on January 20th. Mike Evans, longtime friend of the Hawaiian governor, Neil Abercrombie, shares a conversation he had with Abercrombie the day before. So I think that's where the 19th comes from. And he says Abercrombie told him in private there is absolutely no proof Obama was born in Hawaii. Now, Andy Martin believes that possibly Obama was born at home, but this entire nativity story, as it's being called, is just absolutely bunkum. And then the other 25 or 30 bona fides of a man who's almost 50 years of age, there's no certifiable records that exist for the President of the United States. And I love the piece that you did, Jack, and you ended with, in the Obama rabbit hole, things seem to get more progressively curiouser and curiouser. So, my friend, how does it all end?
Well, that's a good question. I know enough about American media to know that it will probably not end with a bang, more likely to end with a whimper. What needs to happen at this stage is for conservative media to take up this issue. Because up to this point, the O'Reillys of the world and the Foxes.
Oh, O'Reilly lied about it.
Well, I mean, they're so desperate to seem respectable.
Yes.
As if anyone on the left respects them.
Yeah, exactly.
There's any way you can curry their favor.
Yeah, exactly, right.
But we need the Brit Humes of the world and the Charles Krauthammer.
To his credit, Limbaugh has really come to the dance.
Yeah, he's finally coming on board, and I think that this revelation will help too. And with the people who didn't listen to the clip, this guy Mike Evans is a friend of Abercrombie. They both seem to be. Evans seems to be, and Abercrombie certainly is, a huge Obama supporter. They went to the inauguration. That's where they talked.
Sure.
And Evans is from Honolulu. He grew up there.
Yep.
I mean, so he goes way back. And we know now that Abercrombie is a fraud and a liar, and
sure.
You knew that from before. But he's, what happens is sometimes you stumble into your own stuff. And I think one thing we could say for sure now, Peter, because when I first started reporting on this, and you too, you must have heard from a lot of people say, "Oh, this is just a setup. They're trying to suck the birthdays in, and then they're going to puncture that balloon." And it never was that.
No way.
Abercrombie was too stupid for that. And how can you insult birthers? I mean, birthers have been insulted from day one. I mean, so it's like, it's like you scored no points. They're like, from the media's perspective, they're human pinatas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the end of the day, we're all going to say, like, we're all birthers now.
Oh, sure. No, I mean, and what's interesting is, the people who made it so derogatory have simply drifted away from it. They don't use it as a pejorative anymore. In fact, locally, the lead probably left-wing columnist guy named Mike Litwin used to make derogatory remarks about birthers all the time. He ceased to do so. There's no more cartooning.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is a serious issue. And what it really speaks to, as you know, is the absolute collapse of the American media.
Absolutely. I mean, I watch these people, I work with them, and I'm like, tell people, it's just really the worst.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's horrible.
We have conversations. I'll have conversations with people, and I'll say, "But you mean you could walk a big story into a major newspaper, and they won't want to hear it?"
We got one right here. Sure. I mean, I got this story here that they were all over Progress Now when they did their 50 ways to help Obama change the world, and the round trip to Hawaii. And you're looking at it. That I thought I got a chance to look at it this morning. And these two jokers ran this contest, and has no winner. We called yesterday. Our morning show producer Greg Hollenbach called the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Colorado attorney John Suthers. They don't want to look at this. They said, "Well, we don't want." I said, "It's a con. It's a scam." So we have the Secretary of State. Here's what's interesting about the Denver Post this morning. When they break this story in this, I've never met him before. He's going to walk in here in about an hour. A guy named Scott Gessler is now the Secretary of State. Just give me an example here. So when the story breaks, this is before I was out sick. This is before we broke our story on Progress Now. This was the big headline. Liberal group presses Gessler. Tim Hoover, Denver Post. He says he won't step down or back down over plans to moonlight at his old firm. The liberal group Progress Now, Colorado, on Saturday called for Secretary of State Scott Gessler to either abandon his plans to moonlight at his old law firm or step down. And it goes on to this whole thing about Progress Now, Progress Now, Progress Now. We break our story that Progress Now runs a scam, a con, a sweepstakes, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
This morning, Denver Post loads up on Gessler again. But in their lead editorial, Gessler needs to clear up conflict. Mike Litwin columnizes musings on moonlighting. And their lead story on Denver and the West, Gessler rebuts second job fears. Not one mention of Progress Now.
Wow. Yeah, they just sort of fall down a memory hole.
Well, but that's the same thing that Progress Now is doing, because when Corsi contacts Progress Now with the story we break, they say, we don't even know who these people are. When this guy Hutner, I got him claiming that he had founded Progress Now.
Yeah.
And no, and this is for real. I mean, we'll play you the cut. I mean, and so here's Progress Now telling Corsi they did that piece, Promise of Obama Birth Vanishes.
Right.
The authors of a highly touted, well-endorsed progressive book, they've reneged on promises of a contest prize, which this is a story we did. So Corsi gets a hold of this woman whose name is Ann. Let me read it to you. Ellen Dunn, the executive director for Campaign for a Strong Colorado and spokesperson for Progress Now Colorado. She doesn't know these people. Wait a minute. This guy's the founder. George Washington? I mean, and
it sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's like, and I really hated the MSM characters after the Tucson thing, and now I'm fascinated also, Jack, by it was talk radio and Sarah Palin and Limbaugh and all this other kind of stuff, and now they call it clips. They're called magazines. Now, suddenly we're all now supposed to not remember what these people said about talk radio being the cause of the Tucson massacres. Now it's the clip. Now it's the gun.
Unions night, the president will gloss it all over, and everyone will be singing "Kumbaya." And they do it with impunity. They get away with it.
Oh, they get away with it. Yeah. I get look at this and I go. And yesterday, the Denver Post that really spent tons of time beating up on talk radio, and I was getting emails. This was my fault, and the rest of the kind of stuff. All right, fine. Right. And it turns out the kid doesn't listen to radio, doesn't watch television. It's crazy.
Well, in fact, I had an article up just the other day because I had reported on this in September in Missouri, where I live in Kansas City. A hardcore leftist, there's no denying that, and an Islamicist tried to assassinate Governor Jay Nixon of Missouri.
Right.
And the story never left Kansas City. He missed Nixon. He misidentified him. Nixon was visiting the school, and he said he slashed the throat of his dean, who he thought was Nixon.
Yeah.
And I went into Facebook immediately. That's what I do now. When I hear a name, I go to Facebook and find out about these people before the media launder them. But it didn't leave Kansas City. There was a full-blown assassination attempt by a hardcore leftist, and it doesn't leave the city. And the dean gets his throat slashed. He's still in the hospital.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean,
and he stabbed a couple other people, too.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And look how quick and after Hassan murders, everybody at Fort Bliss, we weren't supposed to jump to any conclusions at all.
No, we were told that very specifically. Yeah, by the commander-in-chief. Yeah, right.
But how quickly this guy what's that Sheriff Dipstick down there? How quickly?
Yeah.
They were. Oh no, it's 4 hours after the massacre. This guy's.
Hours.
Yeah.
The Media Research Center has an interesting post because they go hour by hour how the story went. And now they were laying it on Sarah Palin within 2 hours.
And now he's vanished. He's disappeared.
Yeah.
And the community college and the stories of the guy making death threats to local radio geeks and, death threat in that community college and all that kind of stuff, that's all vanished. Reuters ran those stories.
Yeah, right.
That's like, if I didn't hate those and despise those MSM people that week, it's really this week.
Oh, no, that was
me and Cartman.
That was like a condensed week of media stupidity and vileness.
Oh, yeah. And how quickly Obama jumped on it and all the politicos. And now they're all going to sit together tonight. I mean, gag me.
Yeah, gag me, right, exactly. And then our guys are saying, even if, Fox News saying, what a great speech. Yeah. No, it's total BS, total strategic feint.
Sure.
Total exploiting a tragedy. And when your own guys allegedly get their hand spanked, but not by name.
No.
And so vaguely that no one listening would even know that there was a spanking going on.
It's just beauty. I mean, And like I said, these characters here, they ran a scam. I mean, if our radio station said, and the winner of this contest will get a round trip ticket for two to Honolulu and the rest of this stuff, and they said this was among prizes, meaning I was asking, is it a new car, the luggage, what's behind the curtain, dinner for two? Now, and John Suthers won't even look at this, and I'm thinking to myself, just shame on you people.
Yeah, shame.
You have no name.
Yeah, I face the same problem here in Kansas City. Even though I know all the Kansas City Star people, I'm on a TV show with them, weekly. I could walk into them with the biggest story, and I could walk into them and tell them that the Earth, the sun was falling out of the sky, and they wouldn't run with it, But anyhow, I should say, and just to be self-promoting here, anyone who wants to know more about the book forthcoming, and just
I can't wait for that. I can't really wait for it. Yeah. Hey, listen, God bless. Jack will talk ASAP. Thanks, man.
Hey, Peter, thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Jack Cashill. All right, everybody, we'll break for traffic. 6:30 on 630 KHOW, Denver Stock Station. Lines are open. A lot's going to happen. Traffic timer, Susan.